Good evening. You know, when I think of Chicken John, I think of a grain of sand and the oyster of injustice. Of course, he's sort of like a grain of sand to each and every one of us, and we're forced to make our own pearls out of his granularity. Chicken asked me to read a story that is in the book. It's about someone that lives their life not so unlike Chicken, but perhaps with a different ending. It's called Jesus Loves You. There's a special effect at the beginning.
Collect call from a correctional facility. Will you accept the charges?
You would expect that whatever comes after this is going to be bad news. I was delighted. The gravelly voice on the other end of the phone had a Boston accent and a nasal tone. It belonged to G.G. Allen. He was getting out of prison in 2 months and wanted to put a band together and tour. G.G. Allen and the Murder Junkies. He heard I played like Johnny Thunders and I had a band. I was 23. Trying to explain G.G. is impossible. He was a singer with an odd charisma. Covered hands down in the worst tattoos you've ever seen and some pretty alarming scars. I like to play my guitar, but not in some of the sissy wannabe crap that was prevalent at the time. I wanted to rock for real. Loud, fast. Rock and roll was stuck in some limp dick commercial poison marketing module. I wanted to do something real. I wanted to play in a band that when you saw us live, it could change your life. So I joined Murder Junkies. Gigi was the patron saint of punk rock. There was no fiction in his show. There were no airs and no put-ons. He had what everyone wanted. A rock and roll show that wasn't just a show. He was having an adventure in being a human being, and there was no acting or smoke or mirrors. You go to the show, you could die. The world could change. I'm going to try and tell you what happened, and you still might not believe me. There was fucking blood everywhere. And shit. In the beginning, let's say 1984 or so, Gigi traveled around with a tape. The tape was his backup band. He would give the tape to the sound man and sing over it. Even later, when he actually had a band, he'd still give the tape to the sound man secretly in case the band decided to flee. Gigi would sing along with the recording and attack the audience. Physically attack them. Punch them, kick them, wearing only a jockstrap. He would beat his head and face in with a live mic, which would make people cringe. Smear the blood all over himself. A half hour before going on, he'd eat a box of X-Lax. Liquid shit everywhere. Throwing it, eating it, smearing it. Hitting anyone who came near, possessed like a madman. In front of about 20 people, in tiny clubs and cafes, anywhere that would book him. Places he'd never been to before. He took the Greyhound. He had no way out. Nowhere to stay. He would grab his bag, his face a bloody mess, and split. Sleep on the ground, like a dog. Why? Why would someone do this? To be interesting? I don't think so. So many avant-garde gestures get done and overdone to death after they are established, but Gigi forged a path that that anyone could follow. But no one has. That's significant. For me, it seemed like he was eliminating consequences. He was getting unstuck, devolving, prioritizing, although he might have never even looked at it that way. And it was to be admired. Not like the admiration you have for great writers or for people that quit smoking. This is different. Gigi figured out that there really wasn't anything that anyone could do to stop him. I mean, he brought it down to a guttural level. At that time, rock and roll was Night Ranger, Bon Jovi. Even the punk rock of the time was kind of safe, a trend in hardcore called straight edge, where practitioners abstained from sex, booze, drugs, and violence. Soon, hardcore freethinkers were becoming Hare Krishnas. It was a small step. Rock and roll was becoming sterile. Comparatively, Gigi took a literal stance. It was severe. Severe comedy with a capital C. He was taking all the demons from his childhood and facing them. Empowerment, working it out, tabula rasa. right there at the show in some kind of self-made ritual. I mean, usually when you go to see a show, there's no contact with the band. It's a spectator sport, which is why I instantly recognized what Gigi was doing as more shamanic. Stay with me now. His blood, your blood, my blood, it was unlike anything else you ever experienced. In this game, the stopping point is in a different spot than the rest of your life. He was going to violate your human rights. Why? To wake you up. He was doing what he did because he hated what the world had become, and he didn't want to have anything to do with it. He just wanted to go to knuckle under. He liked to rock. With a mic in his hand and a band behind him, the madness of the moment was his only master. He was free like the Buddha, only uglier with bad tattoos. He redefined what it meant to rock. All these dippy long-haired rockers in cowboy boots like some gypsy fashion show. If one of them ever got a hangnail, they'd cancel a tour. But Gigi was going to finish this set no matter how much blood he lost. He was going to throw his shit in the crowd and watch them all rush for the exit in a stampede. It wasn't good. It wasn't fun. But it was shamanic. He was putting this raw experience right in front of you. He could conjure it. You couldn't. Liquid shit everywhere. Chairs, tables, flying through the air, naked, ugly. Drums used as weapons. People screaming. Drinks were spilled and then drank. Piss, puke, tears, liability. Gigi was going to push and push, and the safest place in the room was on the stage right next to him. So that's where I hung out. Playing guitar in the Murder Junkies was fucking awesome. Most shows lasted less than a minute, which was frustrating. But when it worked like nothing else. Gigi was in fact willing to die, if need be, to get his point across. And no matter how serious and dire it all may sound to you now, it was quite mirthful. Sure, we had to pick broken glass out of his wounds by the headlight of the van sometimes, and the insane drummer masturbated while sitting next to you in the van while you were asleep, which was unkind, because ironically, I was in monastic training the whole time that was going on. So it goes. So what happened? This is a fascinating question. Public animal number 1 got famous. Rich and famous. Baffling. He didn't see it coming, none of us did. Once he was famous, the guy who was willing to die for rock and roll got confused. Somehow his kryptonite was love. Admiration made a slight adjustment and became adoration. No one ran for the exit anymore. People were pushing to the front to be the next person smack in the head. He was signing autographs. It was kind of hysterical. Watching his reaction was priceless. Gigi! Oh, hit me, punch me next! A whole row of people screaming it. He didn't know what to do with it. Confronted with a failure that he did not engineer, he did exactly what winners he so loudly despised had done before him. At the end, he was selling paintings of John Wayne Gacy for $10,000. He turned to control with a capital C and took it all seriously. I had box seats to the show. The real show, which was Gigi trying to keep up with a plot twist that was holding the surprise ending to the screenplay of his life. It was amusing, but also sad. I say this now with great trepidation, as the situation couldn't possibly have been more complex. But he sold out. Not in the standard way. He didn't have that luxury. He was so confused, so deluded. He either wasn't smart enough, savvy enough, or the options available to him weren't diverse enough for him to do anything else. And he caved. He retreated to some messiah complex that I didn't buy at all. Nobody did. The Gigi that I knew and loved did what he did for pussy, for punk rock, and for the party. So it was confusing when he started ranting about some higher power crap. Talking about the followers, like they were some cult. Sure, they may have talked crazy, but like pointed, politically peppered terrorist act? I don't think so. He tried to write songs about his murder mission and went on Jerry Springer talking about recruits. He lost his message. I refused to participate. Was vocal in saying that I thought his newfound ego was some macho power trip and that resulted in me being viewed as hard to work with. Can you imagine? The guy who's rolling around in broken glass and shit is telling me I'm not a team player. And at the end, Todd Phillips made a student film for his graduate thesis at NYU Film School, a documentary on Gigi. It won all the awards. It was called Hated. Todd Phillips became the big winner out of all of us. His last movie, The Hangover, is the highest grossing comedy of all time. Gigi's last gig was in New York City at the gas station. After the show, he led a mob of screaming punk freaks to my last apartment chanting, "Chicken John is a coward!" He was looking to kill me. I was at the Oregon Country Fair, blessed be. He died a few hours later of a heroin overdose on Johnny Puke's floor on June 28, 1993. They replaced Gigi with another singer when he died. The Murder Junkies is still banned. I can't even imagine. I guess, what else are the guys gonna do? I shouldn't judge. But to just get another Gigi? There truly is nothing sacred. I know there's a financial motivation. Puts a chill in the air to imagine that Gigi was just another pebble on life's rocky road. 2 years before that, sitting around a table in a club in Boston or somewhere, hanging out with a couple of local girls drinking 8-ounce beers and chatting, Gigi said the funniest thing I have ever heard in my entire life. One of the girls was yammering on and on about how her father was suppressive and controlling. He doesn't let me date and I can't stay out past 10. She was complaining about her lot in life and Gigi seemed to be genuinely concerned. She says to Gigi in particular, "Do you think that I'm going to be a well-adjusted adult with my dad being so overprotective?" Gigi's response, "Well, I had a pretty bad childhood and I turned out okay." Okay indeed, gypsy motherfucker. Rest in peace.